Come on in. Welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're looking at my wish list for Survivor 45. Before every new season of Survivor, I put out a video discussing my realistic hopes and dreams for the upcoming season. As always, I'm going to keep this realistic. These are things that could happen in our new era reality. So no idle-free back-to-basics season, for example, because that will just not ever happen. You've got to let it go. We're not going to pretend that I stumbled upon some Survivor genie and they're going to grant me 3 wishes. These are realistic hopes for the new season. What are my hopes and dreams for Survivor's biggest season ever? Let's find out as we take a look at my Survivor 45 wish list. At number 5, let's start with what we know. These 3 items have been confirmed or heavily hinted at by the show. They've all been long awaited by fans, and I hope they will deliver. We're talking, of course, about the return of the Survivor auction, the return of the Survivor marooning, and the 90-minute episodes we'll be getting all season. Hard to look at any of these things as a downside. In the teaser for Survivor 45 that aired during the Survivor 44 finale, the show heavily teased the return of the auction, which has been dormant since season 30 after that cast broke it completely. Seems pretty clear that the auction's coming back from this, although it would be objectively hilarious if this was just a complete red herring and the auction was nowhere to be found. Jeff's long stated that they want this Survivor institution to return, but they're not sure how, because game-savvy casts refuse to bid on food items and just hold out for an advantage. The answer is simple: just tell everyone there are no advantages. Solved it. Assuming that's the way they go, this should be a fun return for a Survivor classic, although I suppose there's always the chance they'll fix it by going in reverse and make the auction only advantages instead. Sorry for willing that into the world. Additionally, the ship marooning beginning appears to be back, last seen in Survivor 41. Again, it's hard to complain about this. I think part of why some fans report feeling that recent seasons are samey is because the intros of Survivor 42, 43, and 44 were largely quite similar, and this simple change of scenery from beach to boat will help the season stand out in fans' memories. At the very least, Bruce seems hyped anyway. Let's go! And finally, this season of Survivor will have 90-minute episodes for the first time in history. I consulted a few mathematicians to run the numbers, and assuming this extra half hour won't apply to the first and final episode because they're already larger, that's an additional 5.5 hours of Survivor this season. We'll get into what Survivor should do with those extra 30 minutes soon, but for now, these are just 3 positive changes I have trouble seeing anyone be mad about. I mean, I'm sure Reddit will find a way, but I meant normal people. At number 4 is an increased diversity in challenge types. This is something the new era is already doing pretty well in my opinion. 43 and 44 dug up some classics out of the Survivor vault to mix things up. Last Gasp returned, and 44 had an entirely new puzzle. Challenge diversity across Survivor's last 2 seasons was better than it's been since the early 30s, I'd say, and I'd just like to see that trend continue. I don't think anyone would argue that since the move to Fiji, Survivor's streamlined challenges into a formula, with many of them being a simple running or swimming relay with a puzzle at the end. 43 and 44 made a conscious effort to buck that trend to some extent. But let's bring back some of the other non-puzzle, non-relay, non-endurance types of challenges that Survivor has largely let fall by the wayside. Firstly, I'm not trying to say that every challenge that they don't do anymore is some lost gem. I'm not going to sit here and seriously argue that the kitty litter challenge in Survivor Nicaragua is some unappreciated classic that needs to come back. But I would like to see memory challenges return, for example, or target breaking. I think now more than ever is the right time to bring back this pre-merge fire challenge that we saw in Survivor Amazon. With Final Four fire making in the distance, do you show your hand as a good fire maker to help your team win immunity, or hold off and possibly risk losing the challenge and elimination at Tribal Council? Let's see an opening immunity challenge where the players have to make meaningful decisions mid-challenge that impact the challenge itself, like in Worlds Apart or Millennials vs. Gen X. And of course, we'd all love for a social challenge like Coconut Chop to come back.
The answer to what is a poser is you, Courtney.
Overall, I think Survivor's challenge trajectory has been very good lately. I felt more excited watching the challenges in the last 2 seasons than I have in a long time, but I still think there are some classics on the table we can bring back. Just not the kitty litter flipper. For number 3, we'll be getting a bit into the weeds on editing and winners, so skip ahead if you don't want to hear about that sort of thing. Okay, good? At number 3 is for the winner to specifically not get a Matt Chat segment in the opening episode. For the last 4 seasons, every season's winner has been included in the episode talking during the opening Matt Chat segment. This is the part where Jeff talks to the cast before the opening challenge. In real life, Jeff talks to everyone here. But in the TV version, only 3 or 4 individuals are really highlighted. And every single New Era season, the season's winner has been highlighted right here. I thought this trend might be bucked for Survivor 43 because I was like, well, there's no way Gabler is winning, but somehow it even held true for the New Era's meme season. You obviously have to introduce your winner in episode 1, but for those who pay close attention to where and when those introductions happen, the over-reliance on introducing the winner at this specific point has eliminated all but 3 or 4 players as potential winners 10 minutes into the episode. If you like paying attention to the edit, you should want this trend dropped. And if you don't like paying attention to the edit, you should still want this trend dropped, simply so educators can't smarmily lecture you on the edit. It's a win-win for everyone. At number 2 is for the season to have a proper tribe swap. It's time. I don't mind 3 tribes. I really don't. I feel like 3 tribes give the New Era an identity, and they prevent weaker strategic players from hiding in the weeds. But it's time. It's time for a full-blown swap. None of this little half-hearted, one-person free idol swap thing we saw last season. Either a full-blown random chance draw at Final 15, reshuffling everyone into 3 tribes, or preferably a full reshuffle into 2 tribes at Final 14. What else is there to say? It's actually funny that we've gone full circle from the 30s, where swaps seemingly every 15 minutes made it borderline impossible to keep track of alliances or even who was on what tribe. Like, you actually cannot tell me all 5 players who were on Ghost Island's Yanuya tribe, the 3rd tribe created on the 2nd swap on day 15. Go ahead, try. You didn't even remember this tribe existed until 5 seconds ago. Now we're on the opposite end of the spectrum. There's an element of comfort players can fall into if they think they know the formula, and you should never be fully comfortable in Survivor. These savvy New Era players will think they know Survivor's new no-swap formula. It's the perfect time for Survivor to blindside them. The extra episode runtime will allow us more time to get acquainted with post-swap dynamics, so the timing has never been better. Now is the perfect time for Jeff to bring back that classic Probst line.
Grab your balls.
What? No. Drop your buffs. It's the perfect time for him to say, drop your buffs. The number one thing I want out of Survivor 45 is more time spent on casual conversations at camp. Again, this is something I think Survivor has been doing pretty well of late. Many episodes in the new era have made time for pure character building scenes, unrelated or only tangentially related to strategy. I keep going back to how they developed Marianne in Survivor 42. The "here's Marianne" scene. Her and Lindsay talking about Mario Kart. These weren't related to strategy or an advantage, this was just the players hanging out. But they used these scenes to develop Marianne and Taku's opinion of her in general. She's irritating but endearing. They made us like her, but also showed her personality put her at risk early on. And it was all through conversations about her Mario Kart main. In short, they showed and didn't tell. That's called storytelling. So much of the actual game of Survivor is just sitting around and talking about nothing, and I'd like to see at least some of Survivor's increased runtime this fall spent on that. I will say, I really don't think Survivor gets the credit it deserves for how well they're able to tell a cohesive story and balance character development, strategic alliances, and advantages in the edit. I mean, it's actually impressive that they managed to fit in an extended scene of Gabler putting palm fronds on everyone, in an episode where they also had to fully explain Lindsay's complete rise and fall in 42 minutes or less. Survivor already does a good job giving us these classic camp life scenes, and while that extra 30 minutes will undoubtedly partially be spent on giving things like advantages and summits more narrative breathing room, I'd also like to just spend more time chilling with the players, because these casts have been great, and the chess moves don't mean much if we don't care about the personalities behind them. This is what the audience wants, I promise you. Give us more time to just hang out with the Tika 3, join the bro down between Cody and Jesse, giggle along with Marianne and Omer, join the toxic relationship of Shan and Ricard. Okay, scratch that last one. Got nothing else for ya. Hope you're as excited for Survivor 45 as I am. Let me know what you're hoping to see out of it in the comments below. Until next time, don't get idled out.